you can explore your curiosity. I'm wide open. I don't want to feel like I'm just.
Okay.
I don't want to feel like I'm steering the conversation either.
Yeah.
I'm the critic, and so now you can ask the critic all kinds of questions. Go for it. I don't mind.
Awesome.
Wherever you want to go.
All right. So in your mind, using your own words, what do you think street epistemology is? Awesome.
Ooh, I got the ladies in the background.
Nice.
I use that for my Zoom. I use that for my Zoom meetings for work, just to keep things interesting.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't quite mastered the whole like makeup background thing yet. Although I probably should. I probably should do that with all the streaming I do.
I do it to annoy my boss. I don't know how to turn it. Let's see. How do I turn this off?
Did you see that video of the guy online who's like the guy? It was like this meme for a while. This lawyer was in court and he was a cat, and he's like, "I promise I'm not a cat."
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious. I did see that. That's fine. Yeah. So I'm in casual mode. It takes about 20 minutes to set up my studio, but I'm not.
Hey man, I'm always in casual mode. Well,
all right, good.
Most of the time.
All right, man. I didn't. Do you want to do the survey with me while I'm here? I didn't get a chance to take it. I just got home.
Yeah. So I figured I'd record this on Zoom so that we have plenty of time to like not worry about anyone listening, and then we can basically take our time and pause and think, and maybe even take breaks and stuff. I've got a couple of hours. I hope it doesn't go too terribly long, but I hopefully I want it to be a really natural, open conversation. Since I've seen a lot of your debates with Tjump.
Well, that I should tell you, with Tom, I know his uncle. And so there's a backstory with Tom and I. He approached me multiple times to talk to him, and I watched a lot of his videos, and I didn't want to do it. I turned him down like 3 times.
Didn't you go on a show more than once?
I did, because so what happened was, eventually when I kind of found out some background about Tom, got to talk to him through email a little bit, I said, okay, I'll come on and we'll just have a conversation. And I was perfectly happy to do that. And I thought the first 2 conversations went really well, but then I don't know what happened on the third one, but Tom wasn't interested in having a conversation. It was, I want to make you look as bad as I can. And his uncle told me that that's what he does. But I told his uncle, I had a conversation with him, and I said, well, I've had 2 really good conversations with Tom. And he just kind of rolled his eyes and he said, well, just be careful. And so I entered into that third one somewhat naively, thinking that I kind of had Tom's confidence. I shared a lot of personal information with him, and I told him why it wasn't anything personal, why I didn't want to discuss things with him. It was just that I was not in the level of I'm trying to get you, or I'm trying to make you look bad, or I want to put you down, or that's not what my style is. And I don't like those conversations. I don't like those kind of conversations. So that third one was caught me off guard, and I don't do well when I feel like I'm suddenly find myself in a conversation where somebody just wants to shut me down or just destroy my arguments or something like that. I'm not that way. So I had I wanted to get out of the conversation. I didn't want to hang up on Tom. I didn't want to just cut out. I thought we had enough personal backstory with each other through the offline communication that I trusted him enough that it wasn't going to turn into something like that. He was very gracious to me the first couple of times, letting me do what I did, and then suddenly on the third one, it was just It was, I don't know what happened. But he's
Well,
like, I
that's good to know.
destroyed your argument. And I was
Right.
like, well, if that's the mentality, I'm not interested in trying to see, because that's the thing. That third time, had no desire to make Tom look bad. None. Because I know some stuff about Tom that I had no desire to make Tom look bad. And so I was frustrated. I was kind of out of my element. I had a whole bunch of stuff prepared, and Tom just shut it down. So I was like, okay, I'll just endure until this is over, until he wants to end it. But I did not like. I had a really difficult time after that third one.
Yeah, I was reading a comment on one of my videos, or actually one of the Street Epistemology review videos, and someone said that essentially the conversation between you two boiled down to like, and this is somebody else saying this, right? So take it for what it is. But somebody said that it was basically talking about things in your head are imaginary, is what you guys were talking about most of the time. And then the other thing that you guys were talking about was, I think therefore I am can't be wrong, and that was like another hour spent on that. What do you think about that characterization? Do you think that's kind of what you guys were talking about a lot, or
Nobody knows
that's
the
just some
backstory.
stupid YouTube comment?
Nobody knows the backstory, and for Tom's sake, I don't feel like I'm at liberty to share what I know about Tom.
That's fair.
And there was a lot more intent. My honest intent was to hopefully maybe I could be friends with Tom.
Yeah.
Literally, after the second time, I was like, I just want to be your friend and share what I believe.
Sure.
I'm not here to try to make you look bad.
Yeah.
And so I realized that for whatever reason, I knew what was going on at that moment in that video, and I wish I could adjust them. The only thing I wish I could have done would to have been to say, Tom, I understand what you want to do. I don't think either of us in the right mindset to keep this conversation going. Maybe we should stop and come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got frustrated, and I know he was frustrated, and I know some other things that were going on. And so it was my only regret was that I allowed my frustration to take over, and I didn't cordially just say, Tom, I don't think this is wise to continue. But I didn't want to make him look bad.
That happens with you and I. If that happens with you and I encourage you to let me know where you're at in the conversation, and that
I
want to pick it up later or something, because that's
sure.
Another reason why I don't want to do this live. I'd rather just kind of see things from your perspective and kind of like gain an understanding that gives me something more to understand or comprehend than what I've seen from either your videos thus far or anything. And I guess my first question, by the way, I'm brimming with questions. I am full. I am so full of questions. So there's no way I'm going to get them all out today.
Let me get a pen.
Please.
So yeah. Some stuff that if I.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks like it's gonna. Okay. So I can make sure I'm getting everything right. But anyway, so there's a lot of. So it's like, and I jumped in on the comments on that last video with Tom, and I could sit here and go, well, Tom this and Tom that, but in reality, I respect him and as a person, and I just.
Oh yeah, me too.
Out there to make him look bad, and I ended up looking bad because I didn't compassionately try to end the conversation, and I knew I should have.
Right. I'll probably be on his show at some point, because he'll talk to anybody who pays him $50.
Sure.
Though I won't be there to debate. I'd be there probably to talk about SE or maybe ask him some questions, because I think that I've got some questions for Tom as well. Mm-hmm. Though I think what I'm most interested in, my first question for you is, what is I'm like trying to find the best way to word the question, but it's just a casual question. Like, why is it that you are interested in talking with me today? like in
Oh,
overall in general?
I enjoyed meeting with you for the first time we chatted. I really, really
When was the first
liked it.
time? Was that
It
was that after the book review?
was after a book review. It was after the second book review that you did on my
The
Possible
second one, right?
Conversations.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I just enjoyed talking to you. And I've always said to anybody who's an SE, I'd be happy to. I'm not running. I'm not a critic who smashes you on the head and then runs away.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to be friendly and civil, and I enjoy SE. I think I like some things about it, but I'm not a critic of it that's not going to be open to be
Yeah.
criticized himself.
And I've noticed that about you too, is that I don't think that you are, well, I don't know where to put you in my own mind as to how you view street epistemology. And when I talked with Dolly from Juggling Lessons, he thought that you had no problem. And maybe I'm not characterizing what he said very well, so maybe he should speak for himself. But I remember him telling me that you had nice things to say about street epistemology, or at least you had no problem with the method itself.
Well,
Overall.
I mean, if you've seen all the videos I've done, there are plenty of things I will affirm about what I think is good about it. I don't. I mean, even in the worst atheist book I've ever read about anything, just as an example, there's still some. I don't think that atheists are just spouting lies all the time.
Right.
There's always something good you can learn from anybody.
So
so I wouldn't say that and like everything that I've ever done about SE when I criticize it. I always assume that the person that's doing it is sincere. I don't. I mean, they're atheists. Everybody that I've looked at is atheist, but I don't go, well, okay, they're trying to be sneaky and maybe they just want to play games with somebody or something. I mean, maybe they think atheism
some
is really
probably
good
do.
for people and they want. Yeah, I mean, I think there are some that do, but I am not in a position to judge their motives. Though I'm sure there are plenty of. I mean, I've talked to people who just want to play gotcha with me, but I can affirm that there are some good things about SE, despite what I maybe not agree with. So it's always good to find. I mean, Jesus gave the example of the Good Samaritan. The Jews weren't happy about Jesus calling a Samaritan good, but I mean that he says, look, go and do what that guy's doing. So there's it's not all bad. It's just be aware when you get in. See, my goal was to try to make Christians informed and aware without completely destroying street epistemology or people that practice, because it's as I've learned, it's different with everybody. It's different from person to person who practices it. Right. There are basic similarities to it, but if you're going to talk to a Christian, I want Christians to know about it. I want Christians to know what they're getting into and have a civil conversation with them, but understand what some of the dynamics are that some people bring to the table on that. So that's
so what is so actually, first off, I want to see where you want to take this conversation. I'm interested in mostly how you view street epistemology and maybe just an overall discussion about it. And then maybe if there's extra time, we can dig into how you view some of your own beliefs and maybe how you would use street epistemology if it ever came up to talk to some other person about their beliefs and how you think about that. That's mostly what I'm interested in, though I'm also just like not here to control the conversation. If you have something that you want to say or something that you want to
whatever you can explore your curiosity. I'm wide open. I don't want to feel like I'm just okay. I don't want to feel like I'm steering the conversation either. I'm the critic, and so now you can ask the critic all kinds of questions. Go for it. I don't mind. Awesome. Wherever you want to
go. All right. So in your mind, using your own words, what do you think street epistemology is? And this is hard because we're not really clear ourselves what it is when we talk about
it. From my experience with it and what I've looked into it, I was very careful in trying to understand it myself before I did a public expose on it. I would say that it began as a phenomenon within the atheist community. Peter Boghossian, who's has a very open contempt for theism. I don't know where he is today, but it started with a manual for creating atheists with some rather egregious definitions of faith that most Christians And I will say maybe some Christians that are new to the faith or unfamiliar with the faith, not robust theologians or whatever, some Christians may actually use the word faith like Peter Boghossian defines it, but no classic Orthodox Christian who's been a believer for a while or theologian uses faith like Peter defines it. So here's this idea, this method for creating atheists that began in 2012. And a lot of people, Anthony primarily, started taking seriously what Peter suggested.
So
and it became,
go
ahead.
So I'm hearing you describe the history, and I think you and I are pretty clear on the history. I'm more curious to know if what you think, not so much like the history of it and how it's been used, but what we think it is, or what you think it is. What is street epistemology?
Like right now? What's the state of street epistemology like right now?
Like in your head, when you, if you have the opportunity to summarize what it takes, what does it take to call something street epistemology?
I think it is a social media, internet phenomenon, and this is just today, that has largely been popularized by a lot of what I'd call gotcha videos, though they have changed over time. The big views that you get that put street epistemology on the map are where you get the theists to go, I don't know about that. Or you get somebody to change their mind. Dan of that guy Dan, I don't know what his last name is. It's objectively Dan. You have that video where Anthony convinced him to change his mind. And it's those kinds of things that gain popularity, where it's like people say, oh, I want to go out and do that. So they get the GoPro, the camera, the YouTube channel, and they go out and they do this. And it's I think still a predominantly popular phenomenon among the atheist community. I mean, it's still put on by atheist groups and things. And it's largely, and I think too, there's a couple of things, and I don't know this for sure, but I would say there are genuinely probably a lot of atheists who really want to talk to their family or friends in a civil, non-confrontational way about the differences between atheism and Christianity. So I think on the one hand,
do you think that street epistemology, do you think you have to be an atheist to be a street epistemologist?
No, I just think it's still predominantly an atheist phenomenon. So everybody that I've encountered that practices SE has been a skeptic. But I understand you don't have to be an atheist to understand it or appreciate it or to use it. So I think there's a couple of big things I think for people today that are interested in it, like the live stream I watched with you guys. I think there are people there that really want to know, how can I better talk to my friends who are theists or my family members? One motivation. I still think there are people that want to use this to try to get theists off guard too. So I think I don't know the mix, but I would say that there's still predominantly people that just want to play gotcha, and then there are people that are genuinely interested in having civil conversations with theists or people that are of different persuasions politically or whatever. And I would say that's a fairly decent mix of what I think it is. But I think it is still predominantly popular among skeptics and atheists.
I see. If someone is thinking about doing street epistemology, what do you think that should be their motive?
It's hard, because I think there's civility, which I would agree with. There's an emphasis on civility, non-confrontational conversation.
Yeah.
An emphasis on kind of Socratic method. Now, I would say if you're genuinely interested in learning about what someone else believes, great. It's not going to work so well if you're going to use it as I want to beat my friend at chess. I don't think it's going to work that well. That comes out very quickly, I think. If you're a novice, let's just say a novice, you don't know too much about it. You watch a few Anthony videos and you're like, ooh, I want to go do that. But if your aim is to try to catch Christians, that's going to come out really quickly. And I think that maybe some people have that motivation, but I think I would say genuinely, and I'm not saying that there are people that don't think this way or that do or whatever, but I think that genuinely, if you're really interested to learn about what somebody else believes, listen and learn and leave it at that, But if you're trying to persuade someone to a different point of view, be clear with yourself about that. because I don't think you can keep that hidden. I think that comes out. Whatever that motive is, you can't keep it in a can. If you're sincere, that'll come out.
Yeah.
If you want to
I'm curious.
try to change my mind, that'll come out, I think.
Have you seen any material or content regarding street epistemology with other beliefs that are not religious in nature? Because those ones are really cool. Have you seen the ones like, or maybe they are like bordering on religious or like supernatural and some other
supernatural stuff. I've seen a couple political ones and supernatural ones.
There's some that are political too.
Parts of with Mormons. I mean, that's religious.
Yeah.
Karma
is another big one. Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen. I don't just watch the religious ones, but those are primary of interest to me. But yeah, of course, there's other things you can look at. So I think, are you trying to learn what other people believe, or are you trying to learn so that you can change their mind? Are you persuading them toward another end? So I think whatever your intention is, because I think it may differ from people to people. Be clear about that with yourself. What are you trying to do? And,
so I want to know where the limits are to this idea of persuasion. Because one critique for street epistemology that comes up all the time is that it is manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting thing to think about, and I think about it all the time because I'm like, what is manipulation? And if I ask questions at all, is that manipulating?
Well, I think it's like, so an example, if I say, my neighbor is a pretty generous guy. If I say the right words and do the right thing, I can get him to give me $200. Is that manipulating him? Yes. So I think, for me as an outsider, I can't look at you, Nathan, and go, you're manipulating.
Right.
What the question is one that you have to answer. Am I doing that? Do I really want this person to change their point of view on X, whatever it is? And so you have to be clear with yourself. If you are trying to change their mind, but you're telling me that it's just a conversation, it's manipulative. If you want me to be an atheist, and you're just saying, well, I just want to know why you believe, but you really are trying to get me to doubt my theism, then that's manipulative. But if you genuinely want to know what I believe, and you're not going to push back when I make Christian claims, I mean, you can, which is fine, absolutely fine. Even if you want to change my mind, cool, go. I mean, but put that. I think that has to be out on the table at some point. So if your goal is change my mind, but you're telling me, well, let's just have a conversation, then I think there's some manipulation going on. So I think that when the I guess full disclosure to your interlocutor, what are you trying to do? You don't have to tell them, but I think if the motive and the method are distinctly different, then I think that would be manipulation. Do I want to go over to my neighbor's house and have coffee with him and just be friends with him, or am I going over there to say the right words so he gives me cash?
Yeah. If I ask someone, some imaginary person, hypothetically, how they know what they know, and through exploring how they know what they know, they come to realize that one of the methods that they're using to know what they know could be used by anyone to conclude just about anything. If that were to happen hypothetically, and that person changes their mind as a result, and they no longer believe it, is that manipulation?
I guess it would be, so the thing that you both are talking about, whatever that is, like, so for example, I could go to the ATM machine and punch a bunch of numbers and get some money out and get $100 from it. Well, the guy behind me in the car behind me comes up and he does the same thing. He gets $200. Same machine, same method, different outcome. So I think what needs to be clear is, do you both agree that whatever X method is you're in agreement about it, right? So are you trying to get the person to see things? So another example is, and this is kind of crass, but I think it gets to the point. Let's say somebody's walking around and has this idea in their mind that everybody that's married is cheating on their spouse, all right? they just walk around with a clipboard. I'm not saying street epistemologists. I don't mean to make the moral judgment, but let's just say somebody's walking around thinking that everybody who's married, that their spouse is cheating on them. And so they ask a series of questions. Did you know that, do you know where your wife is right now? Oh, okay. Are you sure about that? You trust her? When's the last time you guys talked? How come she hasn't texted you in a while? So they ask a series of questions. It's all based on the idea that they assume that everybody in a marital relationship is not being faithful. They just assume that. Now, I think that is somewhat like, in a sense, where some street epistemologists, not all, will begin with a certain conception about the word faith. It's just something that everybody uses. And so since everybody uses it and comes to different conclusions, and there must be something wrong with that word, rather than looking at all the other possible variables that would lead people to different conclusions. And so I guess, for lack of a better word, the reductionistic idea that faith is really the problem is something where I think that question kind of can get tangential. Is that really the problem, or are there other factors involved in that person's life? Like my brother, he became a Christian through dating evangelism with his wife. He joined the Lutheran Church and became a believer because of Stacy. But is that what am I getting at? Does that mean that Christianity isn't true because my brother became a Christian through the love of his girlfriend and then wife? Or, I could become a Christian because I think it gives me more donuts or something, right? So I could come to Christ for all different kinds of reasons. It doesn't really make the concept of faith problematic. Maybe there's something systemic within the individual, so many other variables, factors of socioeconomic status, geography, family, upbringing, all that kind of other things. So I think there has to be an agreement between you both about what this term is that you're using.
What do you think it is?
What do I think faith is, or what?
Sure.
Okay, so I think faith is, I think I mentioned this in my video, faith is a step of action. It's a belief. It's a trust. So like an analogy would be when a light turns green, what do? We go through the intersection, right? Now we do so because we've done so repeatedly, time and time again, but we don't have the time or the effort to examine each individual on the other side of the intersection of red light. So we proceed through the green light based on our knowledge of the law. There's no judge standing on the street corner with his gavel going, you know what the traffic law says. You don't have to have the traffic law in your glove box. You don't have to have a police officer telling you it's okay to go on green. You can't examine the people in the cars on the other side of you.
I'm hearing you describe an inference based on background knowledge. Is that right?
Yeah. So faith is an act. You act in accordance with background knowledge. It's a good way to put it. I know all this background knowledge about traffic law, but the traffic law isn't present with me in order for me to act in that regard. So faith is the same kind of thing. It's an active trust. So if I believe what the Bible says, then I should go out and do what the Bible says. And so it's putting your belief in your head, moving it down here to actively engage. So I don't think faith is necessarily an epistemology as much as it is an active, lived out belief, if you will. So I don't see faith as just a means of knowing. I actually think it's very common in our everyday experience. We act in accordance with what we believe, though a lot of things that we believe we can't really, prove in an empirical scientific sense. So I don't think there's anything unreasonable about it. And I think, you would ask, well, why the multiple different conclusions that people come to in regards to faith? I think there's a lot of other factors involved in that question that can be explored. But I think that you will act in faith based on what you have as background knowledge. But the different rationales and reasons for why people come to different conclusions about faith can be similar. I mean, not identical, but there's a lot of scientists like string theory or inflationary theory or very different forms of gravity theory. There's a lot of scientists that use similar methods.
You hit on something that I was going to ask a question about, so I didn't interrupt because I was like, "Oh, you're going exactly where I want to go," and then now it's diverging. So
okay,
keep me
on track.
You mentioned there's something about faith, some variable within it that can cause people to go to other conclusions or conclude different things. Is that something
Mhm.
that you said?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work for Watchman Fellowship, and so we are what we call ourselves interfaith evangelism, where we talk to Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and people in Islam people, and I
Kind of
have
like a Unitarian sort of thing?
yeah, we have we our main purpose has been to outreach to people of other religions, but we've added atheism on there recently in the last couple of
Oh,
years.
that's
With our book
cool.
club,
You
with our
guys should
book
bring
club.
me in.
Well, our book club is one way we outreach to skeptics, and we don't, we try to have a long-term relationship with our skeptic friends. We've
I
been
mean,
doing our book club for.
I'm interested in street epistemology because I love people.
Yeah, no,
You
I'm
know?
talking to you, Nathan, because I trust you, and I don't think you want to play games or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't mind having a
Hey, same here.
conversation.
That's why I'm talking to you instead of Darth Dawkins or something.
Yeah,
I've talked to him before, by the way.
oh yeah, no, there's an element of trust for me that
Right.
I can step out in. Now I don't know you, right? So there is a
Same.
risk involved. Maybe you're going to do something I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, but I am taking a risk because I am a big critic of what you do. Not you
Sure.
personally, but the whole thing.
Right.
But I am open to being criticized, and I want to be known as being open to being critical.
Hey, the
To have
feeling's
people be
mutual.
critical. So when getting back to faith, like in science, scientists use a variety of similar methods, mathematics and maybe observational astronomy, or they're looking at the same stuff
Hmm.
and they're coming to different conclusions. And it's
Yeah,
not
didn't
just a
you say
theist.
something on your Twitter a while ago about how your confidence is low that a new star has been born since the universe began, or something like
Well, that
that?
was a long time ago. Yeah. So I have
It was
a
like a
low
couple months
degree of
ago, I think.
confidence. Well, it's because star formation is like fossils. So we're actually looking back at time
Yeah.
according to the way models are. We're looking back at time of things. And
Yeah.
so
The
what
sun, if you look
astronomers
at the
have
sun,
done,
it's 8 minutes ago.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's cool.
And so what we're doing is we're looking back at time. And so what astronomers have done is they've constructed a narrative. Well, this little squiggly over here is stage one of star formation. This little squiggly over here is stage two. And so they've constructed a schematic about what they think stars in the formation process look like. Now, nobody's actually ever seen a star go from nothing to star. This has never been observed. Now, I'm not saying that stars don't get formed. I'm not saying that stars aren't processed or aren't created. I'm not saying that. I'm simply pointing out that the methods by which we determine how stars are formed is constructed based on observational and hypothetical data. It's a good theory. I say good in terms of it's a scientific theory, and I don't mean theory in the sense that it's not true. I just mean that it's a constructed theory, a reconstructed theory based on pieces of information that we have. It's not full and complete. And so scientists come to different conclusions about how the universe began, using basically the same kind of data. And it's not just a theist, non-theist thing. There are lots of different theories of gravity. There's lots of different models of how the origin of the universe began. Sean Carroll embraces a many worlds hypothesis. And some people embrace a multiverse, and some people embrace string theory, where there's a multitude of different dimensions.
So before we
We're
go
all
off,
looking at the same thing.
before we go off on the deep end there, just real quick, because I don't want to stay on this.
Yeah, reel me
forever,
in.
but
Reel me in.
I'm gonna that'll be my role today, is I'll just reel in.
Yeah, just keep me in the fence. I'll be good. Yeah. Just put up the hand.
So if you had a wager, which is more likely to be true, that stars have formed since the universe began, or that they haven't, which would you wager?
I would say, this is just Dan.
Yeah.
I would say that God pretty much made them as they are, and I don't personally think that they form as we think they do today. I don't believe that, but now I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that because I've looked at the way the data is constructed, I think it's hypothetical that they do, because it's based on the light of stars. Basically, like a hot white blue star is believed to be a young star, and big giant red stars are believed to be old stars because of the amount of fuel and energy that they burn. The white stars shouldn't be around that long because they would have burned up all their fuel. But in 1987, a blue white star went supernova for the first time. Nobody expected a baby blue star to explode. So anyway, to answer your question, I would say I would wager that we could find out. I wouldn't think that any stars are being formed, or it's a very rare thing that stars are being formed. But I could be wrong. So that's what that's what I would wager.
Fascinating.
That's just me.
My roommates just started getting really loud, even though I told them I'm doing a stream.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't? Okay, well then,
No.
if you can't, then it probably isn't on the recording, so it's fine.
I can't hear anything.
I got a little distracted when that happened. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. Well, I think that was good. I feel like I'm hearing you out here, and I think that we're onto a good start. How about let's dig into some epistemology? Why don't we let's go ahead and have you fill out the survey, however you would fill it out. Now here's the thing. You came in and crashed the workshop that I was putting on.
I didn't mean to crash it. I signed up for it. I didn't know you were. I actually when I signed up for it.
By crash, I just mean you joined. That's all. I'm not mean that you were disruptive, because you weren't. I don't think.
No, I tried not to be. I was only going to come to watch. That's really all I wanted.
No.
And I said I told them to put me in whatever room they had room for. I didn't pick a room.
Oh, really? They had extra room in my room then. That's what it was.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
I guess so. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and I sent you a link through Twitter. So if you want to fill that out, we'll just go.
All right. Are you going to pull it up, or do I need to see?
Well, so you have a link through Twitter. So
I saw that. I'm going through there now.
Yeah, so you can just open it and then fill it out.
Okay.
And then when you're done, we'll get started on the claims that I sent you. I sent you like a list of claims.
Sure.
And then we'll just kind of very lightly touch on those, and then we'll dig into it.
Okay.
Okay. I'll be back.
All right.